Ah yes, Mega Man 1, where it all started for the Blue Bomber. Mega Man at one point was Capcom's golden boy, and now, well, things are looking on the positive note, I guess, with the success of Mega Man 11 and of course the Mega Man, both the Mega Man Classic Collection and the Legacy X collections are doing well. And here's hoping for a Mega Man X9. Capcom, make it happen. At the time of this recording, nothing has been announced or confirmed yet, but, you know, one can hope. Yeah, so for Mega Man 1, this is where it all began for the Blue Bomber, and let's just get the elephant out of the room right now. This game is fucking hard, and I'm not exaggerating here. Mega Man 1 is by far the most difficult game in the franchise, and yes, I'm even including the X Series too, because I understand this is the first attempt at making this game, you know, Mega Man being its own franchise here and there. But the thing is, the first thing I don't like about Mega Man 1 is the controls. The controls feel slippery, and Mega Man's movement is just odd. He moves similar to Mario, that he carries too much traction. He's similar to Mario, the way he moved in Mario Bros. 3. And the level design for Mega Man 1, don't even get me started on that. The one thing I cannot stand about Mega Man 1's level design is the spike glitch, where if you get hit by an enemy, and if you fall into a pit of spikes, it still counts as you dying. So right here in these areas, you gotta be very tricky and precise in your jumps, because if you get hit even by a projectile and land on spikes, it still counts as an instant death. I believe Sonic 1 also had that same spike glitch, also, don't quote me on that. But yeah, it wasn't until later games where you could actually damage boost and take advantage of those invulnerability frames. And the level design, you know, some of them you could go fast and some of them you could go slow by having vertical level designs, like the ones in Elecman stage, and have these annoying enemies shooting at us. Yeah, because Mega Man can only shoot in one direction, horizontally. So basically, you just fire left and right and jump and shoot. That's basically all you're doing. And also, you have a score counter. I don't know, I guess it was a big thing back in the 80s. I mean, they never brought that feature back, thankfully, I don't know why. And of course, the reappearing, disappearing blocks, which has been in every Mega Man game ever. Seriously, like, why did they bring these here? Is it under a part of a contract? Is that what it is? I mean, they're a pain here, but but nothing beats the platforming and Gutsman stage. And I say, fuck this stage, I'm gonna use the magnet beam because I can't handle this stage. It's just a pain. Because the glitch here, there is a glitch where you can actually fall, you fall like a rock for a cheap death here. It's not even funny. That's why I would recommend you use the magnet beam for that area. And how do you get the magnet beam? You get the magnet beam in Elecman stage, and you need the super arm or the elect beam in order to get it. But overall, the weapons are actually pretty overpowered in this game. I love the fire shield, the flame shot in this game. It gives you the residue gives you a nice shield, and the magnet beam alone is such a very good weapon. I don't know why they never brought this back. And then of course you got more reappearing, disappearing blocks in Iceman stage, and it's even worse here. This is the one stage I would highly recommend you use the magnet beam, because there's an oncoming area that you have to use it unless you want to use those annoying platforms to move back and forth. Like, the magnet beam is such a good weapon. I don't know why they didn't bring it back. Maybe developers realized, like, hey, man, this is a cheap way to not do the reappearing, disappearing block puzzle. And I can kind of understand that, but so what? Isn't the point of playing this game is to test out all the weapons, to, you know, have fun, find different paths to beat the game without doing the same boring run over and over? And yes, those are the platforms you would have to stand on or use if you don't have the magnet beam. But thankfully we do. See? Tricky platforming, not a problem. Yeah, apparently Capcom doesn't like it when you have fun. You can see why they never brought this weapon back. It's so overpowered, it's not even fun. Like, seriously. Even this weapon, honestly, it's better than Rush Jet in Mega Man 3. Well, I'm not overboard by saying that, but Rush Jet in Mega Man 3 is broken on such another level, but the Magnet Beam is such a good weapon, too. Like, it falls in that same category, like, which is more broken. I think the Magnet Beam is way more busted than Rush Jet. You know, at least, you know, if anything, at least you can use it anywhere. You can say the same thing about Rush too, but I just find the Magnet Beam so much cooler. And I think I may have upset some Mega Man fans by saying that, but oh well. You know, I'm not here to, you know, to make enemies here, but I'm just stating the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If I like something, I'm going to say I like it. If I hate something, I'm going to say it. And Fireman stage is really boring and dull and boring. It really is. Boring, generic fire theme. Not so memorable. And now let's move on to the Wily stages, because let's be honest, I ran out of things to say there for a second. The Wily stages, they're very cryptic. At least Wily stage 1. Don't go for that power palette. But the one reason we all hate this stage, and I'll explain that more in a couple minutes. But first, you have these cheap enemies right off the bat, and the only way to hit them without being blindsided is with the Elect Beam. Yes, this game has some annoying enemies, and they have such annoying patterns too. It's so cheap, it's not even funny. Like right here, you have these bullet bill kind of enemies where if you get where the residue can knock you back into those spikes and cause you to get a cheap death. Like, come on, what is that? And then, of course, right here, if you don't have the Magnet Beam, this area right here is going to be trouble. And yes, the Magnet Beam, I forgot to mention, if you don't have the Magnet Beam into this part, guess what? You're not passing this game. Because for some dumb reason, the developers realized that right here, the only way to get to that top, to that ladder is by having the Magnet Beam. Because Rush Coil wasn't a thing until Mega Man 3. So how are we going to get to that area? Oh, the Magnet Beam. Well, how do you get it? Well, you gotta go through Elect Man stage to get it, but how are people supposed to know that back in 1987? You see? Such cheap design, seriously. And I understand back then you had a strategy guide, you had to buy it, but come on, that's just so cheap. Oh, but not as cheap as this asshole right here. Ah yes, the infamous Yellow Devil, which is the most difficult Yellow Devil in the franchise. And that includes the X series. Because I have no idea what people are saying that the X5 they find the Shadow Devil difficult. Like, how? You have armor, you could duck, and you have sub-tanks. Here, you have nothing. And what I'm doing right here is I'm doing the pause glitch. I know it's a cheap exploit, but so is wall jumping, wall clinging when you try to avoid the Shadow Devil, so I don't care. I beat the game any way I want, alright, without breaking a controller. Yeah, so the pause glitch is not that hard to implement because by pressing the select button or the start button, you can get multiple hits on the Yellow Devil, causing some cheap tactics. It may be cheap, but so what? This boss fight is cheap, and the developers knew it. In fact, that's another reason why they brought him back in Mega Man 3, but at least in that version, you have energy tanks. At that point, you have 9 of them, so it's just a war of attrition. And it's a good dodging here and there. And you have a slide. But here, no, it's just cheap. It's ridiculous. Hell, in Mega Man 11, Yellow Devil wasn't even that hard because you have speed and because you have the speed gear and you also have the power gear. But now we have this second boss fight in Wily Stage 2. Not too difficult. Just be careful because it does move faster the more you destroy, but nothing you really can't handle. Let's be honest, if you can beat the Yellow Devil, you can basically beat anything at this point. I mean, that's basically gonna be the crossroads of you either rage quitting or persevering and moving on. And of course, Wily 3, you have the obligatory boss rush. I didn't show off the copy Mega Man fight, but it's kind of a redundant fight. And right here, we're approaching the boss rush, but first I want to show off the Aishaishi item. I think that's what it's called. I apologize if I mistranslated it. It's an item that basically restores all your weapons and all your health. It's only used in Mega Man in this game and in Mega Man 10 if you're playing it on easy mode. And of course you have a boss rush here. The boss rush, the same boss rush style is used in Mega Man X, where you just fight a random robot master, not all confined to one room. They each show up randomly. I don't like the style of boss rushes. I've rush style in Mega Man 1 because it's cheap and these guys don't drop health like in future games. I prefer having the boss rush be, you know, having all 8 robot masters in one room. I defeat them, I get a health drop. That's it, simple as that. But by then you should have their corresponding weaknesses, so you should have no excuse to lose to them. Unless you have bad timing. Yeah, so the whole story of Mega Man 1, of course, is that, well, wow, I'm surprised I'm talking about the story right now. It's been over 10 minutes. Yeah, the whole story of this game is that Dr. Light created all these robot masters, and Dr. Wily, they had a falling out after Robot University, and apparently, you know, Wily got jealous because Thomas Light was being world famous, and he was envious of that. And it's our job to deactivate the robots that Dr. Wily stole from Dr. Light and save the world. Yeah, so Wily, he's not too difficult in the first entry here. His weakness is either Rolling Cutter or the fire shield ability. Either way, it goes down really easily. Yeah, so I'm surprised that it took until Mega Man 11 to give us a full plotline of why these two are feuding. You know, it was because of falling out at Robot University, but oh well. Better late than never. Yeah, so Wily here gets defeated easily. And apparently he's begging for forgiveness. Oh, I'm sure he learned this lesson. No, he won't. He'll be doing this 10 more times. Yeah, right. Yeah, so overall, my final verdict on this game is Mega Man 1 is... I honestly think Mega Man 1 is actually the worst game of the classic lineup. Say whatever you want, but I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if anybody says that Mega Man and Bass is actually the worst of the classic lineup, even though it's not in the numbers series. But I'm gonna flat out admit that Mega Man 1 is actually the worst of the franchise. Now I understand you're probably gonna say, well, it's the first game, you know, isn't that kind of unfair? I could say that too, but when you have cheap design, and this was at a time where a lot of games like Contra and Ghosts and Goblins had cheap level design, cheap gameplay mechanics, you know, I can't forgive them for that, I can't. It's one thing having a game be cheap, it's another game having a game that's just totally unfair. The Yellow Devil gave me such a heartache that I just decided just to give up on it. Like, I know you have to... When I get to a point where I have to resort to using a pause glitch to beat the Yellow Devil right off the bat, I'm just saying, no, I can't deal with this. Where in Mega Man and Bass, yes, you have those atrocity king stages, but at least they were beatable if you have the patience and the skill for it. And I understand you didn't have any energy tanks in either games, but at least you had chip enhancements to make up for that. And Mega Man had weapons that were far more superior to buffer the damage. So overall, Mega Man 11, it is the worst of the classic series. I may have offended people by saying that, but I'm being truthful about this. But the successor of this game actually ended up being one of my personal favorites. So yeah, that's my final verdict on the game.